maybe work on your lighting or whatever. You know, little.
Please, I got this gap between my teeth. Was this all you? You always
What are we talking about?
looking with nice wings.
Okay, but if picture in picture in picture is kind of
When you get the video and you work on the processing, see if you can fix this to make me look like Brad Pitt.
my God.
Was this always you?
Are you kidding me? Look at my fucking face. Are you serious right now?
Asking you a question.
Shit.
Look. Yeah, but at least you have a cool room. What's wrong with you?
Thanks for saying I look like shit, but the background's okay.
No, I don't even know what you're pointing at. What's wrong with your face?
All the fucking.
Right? What's the matter?
I see the gap. I see your gap tooth. I see.
Is it always in like that? Like, you've known me a long time. You'd be like, oh, yeah, Josh, you'll know him when he comes in. He's the guy with the gap tooth. Like,
I mean, if you want me to go back to the photo that you have of yourself in the fridge, you can actually see if you have it at 13 or however old you.
It is, but back then, actually, it's just a great story. One was, I don't think it was as wide, and one was long. One was significantly longer. It was like snaggletooth. And the snaggletooth was the more upsetting part than the gap back then. And then, but I wasn't that bothered. I didn't even notice it that much, right? I had other things on my mind. And then I had a girlfriend, and just like surviving my fucking childhood. And then my girlfriend, like somewhere in college, she was like, oh, we got to do something about that tooth. And I was like, what? She was like, hold on. She went and got a nail file, like one of those, like the little piece of shit one, like sandpaper. She was like, hold on. And I was like, well, you're not filing my tooth. She's like, it's fine. My uncle's a dentist. This is how they do it. I'm like, okay. She was really smart. She was like in an astrophysics program at University of Chicago. So I was like, okay, yeah. And her dad was a doctor. And I was like, all right, I guess she goes to Chicago. So she filed her tooth down and she got it for even. Like, she filed it out. She's like, that is so much better. And I was like, huh, okay, great. She was like, my uncle's not a dentist. I was like,
oh, wait.
You just did it?
Was it a metal file? Like you got metal shavings in your face?
Just like a tool shop, like some Epson. What do you call that board? Emery board, where you would like.
That's not gonna grind your tooth down. Come on.
It grind my tooth down, David.
You can use it on your fucking nails for more than 2 minutes without it being dull. There's no way you're doing it on your.
But not as strong as you think. She went for it. She pulled part of the tooth off. I'm not shitting you. Where would I make that up? You think I imagined it? Like, the tooth was shorter. I didn't cosmetically go somewhere and she shortened it. And then she was like,
you don't remember the gap? You remember this, but you don't remember the fucking giant gap in the middle?
No, I don't remember the gap.
Yeah, I'm calling bullshit shenanigans on this bullshit.
I mean, like, I can look back and see that it's there, I guess, but it didn't, like, seem to stand out. Maybe I was like, I felt better looking enough that I was like, the gap doesn't matter. But now it's like everything's bad. So I'm just thinking, because like I was saying, with this eye, it's like, I don't notice it when I'm just looking in the mirror, but whenever I see myself on these kind of things, I'm like, why is this one half closed? So that's what I'm saying. I think this is better if I just do it like this.
Wait.
Don't you think we'll be ahead?
I think you fix your fucking shitty lighting. Then we have a chance.
How's it going to fix the gap and the?
No one's going to care once you have you. The face looks like shit, but the background looks nice. That's all I heard, right? So I'm like, great. Where do I sign up?
You look handsome.
We collect our checks. You know,
look the same as you've always looked to me. You look different.
Look better? Fuck you. I look better. What are you talking about? You can go back to the last one done shit. Good I look. Look at me.
I mean, I didn't think you looked bad ever. That's all I'm saying. I think that you look like you did 20 years ago to me.
Here, let me just run. Oh wait, now we're good. Now we're perfect. Now we're.
I mean, I guess you must have more grade. then, but like, it's, that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, this is starting to,
25.
this is starting to recede a little.
Moving back. Yeah. I mean, things like that are going to happen.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm just saying, how plastic surgery used to be like, the key was, hey, get work done.
Fingers off your fucking face. What do you do?
Make it look like
have a podcast for 30 minutes or whatever it is with you doing this each time. We're just not. We
you
can't.
think it's viable? It's harder to blink and how is it getting dried out? Maybe I can get an assistant to drop like eye drops in my eyes.
The longer you don't do that, the more comfortable you'll feel. So let's take one away. There we go.
Do this one because this is the one that's solving.
This makes
plastic surgery used to be like the key was like get work done and make it so nobody knows that you got work done, right? It should be imperceptible, roughly, right? Like it shouldn't look like you. It shouldn't be clearly like, oh, they had work done. And nowadays, I think so many people had like maybe bad work or whatever done, and that people don't look like real people anymore. But they're like, oh, that's what beautiful is now. Beautiful is that weird plastic surgery look, and people are like, look at that person. They look great, but they look like a clown to me, right?
Yeah.
I think the natural extension of that is this. Like people will eventually look like this, and they'll be like, oh my gosh,
that's not a good look. I'm sorry, buddy. That's not okay. But still, you've seen those
amazing.
Those Instagram chicks that literally they confess where someone says, oh wow, you're a natural beauty, and they're like, natural beauty, I've got Botox injections, I've had my lips done, my fucking things cut, this, that, my eyelids are fucking extended, and all, and it's like, there's nothing natural about that. But
I need to get my things cut too. That's for sure.
Your what?
My things cut.
Your.
Isn't that what you said? I got my things cut.
Well, yeah, I don't know what I'm saying.
It's good advice. I need to do that.
So let's lower it to where not okay. It's like somehow you need to be a little okay. Here's why I got a $450 fucking lens. So what it does is it blurs my background, frames me better, right? I'm not saying you have to have that whole thing.
I thought that the camera that I bought for us, for you, was going to do all this.
Okay. Oh, okay. Look, so you're on 1080p right now. And when I exported it, it didn't look bad. You look pretty good at 1080p. And now a lot of people say with YouTube, all you need is 1080p. So go back to the Lumina, put it back on 1080p, go away from the 4K.
All right. Keep it rolling.
Okay. And then,
Lumina, ready?
Yep. Yeah. Because now it's totally different. It's too much.
We're going to keep changing, Dave, because the sun is moving here. So like, the position of the sun, just from going from, 2:15 p.m. to 3:40 here, it has changed radically. Like the amount of sunlight that's beaming in here it's going to keep changing. Like
we don't care.
So, but I'm just saying, every time I do this, right? Like,
no, it's gonna be fine.
It's that fucking story every fucking time, anyway. So,
God. Oh my God, you're pink. You're really pink. Like I don't want to say what, but okay. It's
too hard at one time.
I guess. I mean, I'm super pale, but I look like I've maybe been in some sunlight.
Pretty sure I'm paler than you are in real life.
Well, okay. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'll take whatever I can get. You know what I'm saying? Wait. So, okay. Well, now it's a little blue. Did you turn that light off or something, or did you put it on like?
I changed the warmth.
Let's just stick with this. You're not gonna. I mean, let's.
Is it good yet?
No, it's a little. There's a pinkish hue. Whatever, that's fine. But look, the framing is better. But there's a setting somewhere to say to blur the background or whatever. Somewhere there's one.
I'm trying to find it, but I cannot. Is that too pink? It's either I'm too pink or I'm too blue.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
Off. Maroon.
Okay, but you have one on the other side of you. Yeah, I can see the shadow. Okay, what is that light set to? What is that color over there?
I don't know the names of these things. It's not the warm. It's not the warm one, but it's one of
Oh,
the.
okay. So, but this is the thing.
None of this really matters because in 20 minutes it's going to be so much darker in here. It's all going to fucking change again anyway.
No, but so that your
I
background
think
your background's gonna get darker.
backend is being blurred, but I don't know if there's a setting for how much. Oh, blurring strength. Okay, so
So
that's as hard as I can blur it.
whatever. Well, that's fine. Fuck it. Whatever. It's fine. Look, you're gonna have to come up with a better background at some point. Whatever. We're fine. But look, this is 100 times better than when we started. We have the proof. I have the other things. You know what I'm saying? I can go back and I can see this is better.
So I don't need the cosmetic surgery.
No. And then you got the camera a little bit above eye level. It's good. So that way you never want to film up because then you're getting like weird chin shit in there and all that, right?
That helps my chin.
It's not a good look. Little above eye is it. So the 3-point lighting setup, you can look at YouTube videos all day long and see how to do that better or whatever. But I have one light.
What did you just say?
3-point lighting.
3-point lighting?
I have one light here.
Where's right? Let's see why. You can't see why to see where
awesome claw is coming right here. I have one light there.
That camera was really good how it did that focus, like on you.
Yeah. Because I have a $6,000 camera set up. You know what I'm saying? No, it's going up in price every time I have to mention it. So, and then I got this like, it's like just a bullshit light back there, right? I bought it for you, basically. And then I have just like there's like a little light that's like just kind of just picks up my hair a little bit, tries to separate my hair from the background in my little thing.
What kind of lights are these?
Well, that's just an LED strip thing. That's all that is. It's just like a rod, like this thing, and then an LED thing in front of me over here. That's it.
Mm.
But this light is super white. Like it's a white light.
Is this going to be like Last One Done, where you like use me to get started, and then you're like, oh, he's not good enough, and then like, but it helps you get going, and then you leave me in the dust?
And then I replace you with like a big bass or a partner. Mm-hmm. Not bass player, podcaster.
Right. Be like, I'm sorry, Josh. You know, you're set up and your look is the weakest link, and then like you go, move on,
find somebody.
It's not even like a thank you card. It's like, thanks for helping me get my shit going, refining my craft.
No, I'm not going to do that to you. But I think so. I think.
So you will send me a thank you card, is what you're
saying? Did I not last time? I think I have a lot of like, and you remember I was telling you like the whole 50 is the new 30 thing, right? I strongly believe that. I don't feel I'm going to be 51 in like 3 months, and I shake my head because it's like 51. Like, what? Like you see all these things, right? Like, oh, here's the cast of Cheers, right? And it's like shows all of them, and it shows their ages, like the little age above each one of their heads, and you're like, oh my god, I'm like, the oldest one in that cast was like 44 at the time or something, you know what I mean? And it's like, what the fuck? I'm 51, and these are the what? You know what I mean? Or it's baffling to me. Or you look at Archie Bunker and all these other, and it's like they're not that old in those shows. I don't feel like I feel 30. I don't think I look 51. I don't think I act 51. I don't think anything about me is 51. Period. I don't have kids, and I know kids age you, and I know maybe some other things do. I don't know. But so I'm not saying it has to be that title. I don't care what the fucking title is, but that was just what I like. It's such a strong thing to me. And I thought, okay, I feel it resonates with people. Whenever I say that, like if I said it on my work call the other day and people are like, holy shit, like it's so true. Like it used to be 40 is the new 30. Now it's like, nah, it's 50 is the new 30. And I'm like, yeah, I think. And then that to me leads into like life and my take on different things in life. And obviously you have a totally different perspective because you have kids, and that's like a whole different world to me. Right. I have a nephew and a niece, didn't really see them much. I see them now all grown up, and it's a little strange, but I didn't like raise them. You know what I mean? I didn't have that stress. I have cats, I have two cats, but I don't think it's the same. I really don't. Anyway, my point is, so like, I was thinking about this the other day. Personal finance is a big one for me. This is a huge thing in life. And it's something that you can do personal finance videos on YouTube all day long and get fucking thousands and thousands and thousands of views and streams because people are so, it's everything in life, right? Personal finance, your credit, your debt, your income, owning a house, buying a car. Oh, it's just the whole life. There's nothing more important, obviously, than health. We're supposed to say health. It's the most important thing in life. It's not. It's money. It's fucking money. And so, because that whole money can't buy you happiness, it's all bullshit. It's just like money is literally the answer to what 9 out of every 10 questions they say or whatever. It's just the way it is. You don't answer 9 out of 10 questions with the fucking word health. You know what I mean? It's money. Truth, but whatever. So I wouldn't mind having an episode where we kind of talk about personal finance and the state of the world and how now like they're finally starting to teach it in schools. I wish they taught personal finance to me when I was in school, in high school. I think I'd be a lot better off right now. Okay. So there's that. I think like I'm trying to organize some of these things that I have and feel free to tell me I'm an asshole or I'm way off the mark. But like the feeling of like, do you remember, and I don't know if we should save this for the actual thing, but do you remember the feeling do you remember the feeling of you getting your first car? Do you remember your first car?
I want to tell you something. I have a hard time in general answering questions straight up because I'm like, well, I could think about this 3 different ways. So that's just how my brain works, right? So like, I'm not known for my brevity or quick because the first car that I like really bought myself is a different thing than the first time I had access to a car to use and things like that.
Okay, first access to car.
Yeah, there's a lot of negative shit attached to that. It's complicated. But I think what you're getting at is the like magic feeling, right?
Yes.
So I remember that more with the car that you helped me buy, which was really my first purchase myself. Yeah. But not the first time I had access to a car. I don't really remember that feeling per se. It was more of like okay, this is good, but it wasn't mine. I was borrowing my grandmother's car. Like,
yeah, but okay,
you know what I'm saying?
But you didn't. So the point is that I'm getting at is when I was 15 and a half, 16, whatever, I was 15 and a half, literally when I started driving Keith's mom's little 1983 Honda Civic hatchback, maroon color. You know, it was an awful little 2-speed car. But point being, I didn't care. You don't care. When you're 16 and you just want to be able to leave the house and go hang with your friends or go to McDonald's or leave school for lunch or whatever, you don't give a shit what the car looks like or what it is. If there's a muffler dragging, it did not matter. You were so like, fuck yeah, car, freedom, right? And that feeling of what it represents. And you took pride in it. Like you watched it and you fucking put a stereo in it and some tweeters and some fucking 6x9s and a subwoofer in the back. And like, it was everything. To me, it was everything. And you didn't care that it was a 1983 Honda Civic hatchback. And you didn't care what anybody thought of you. There was no judgment. I don't care. You're judging me because I have this piece of shit car, but at least I have a piece of shit car, right? Sure, they're the spoiled kids and rich kids that had a BMW when they're 16 or whatever. So that was kind of a fringe case or far and few between. I knew a lot of kids that just whatever they could get their hands on, like you're saying, your grandma's car or whatever, some beat up ass car, but you didn't care. And then at some point in your life, that changes. It goes away. And it's like, why can't we have that forever? Why is it that, oh, wait, that's not acceptable anymore? You have to have a better car or keep up and compete a little bit more with other people, or that feeling of like, I don't care. This is my car. And I'm going to wash it and I'm going to love it. And I'm going to pay the insurance. I'm going to make sure it has oil all the time. And somewhere that it gets lost. It goes away. And I wanted that feeling in other things in life. And I started thinking the other day, like, what else is there in life like that? I remember the feeling of my first car, but I don't really have anything else I could equate it to. Maybe you can with kids, but I don't have. It's like, well, where did that go? Like, I want that in other aspects of life. That feeling of like, fuck yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, my car story was different, you know. So it was. I get what you're saying, but I think the first time I felt like really like this is mine, and I didn't bother me that it was the cheapest version of it that you could acquire was my first bass guitar. Right?
Oh,
It was $100 bass that my mom bought me for my 13th birthday. And I'd asked for it and I picked it out at the store and she did buy it. $100 for us back then was like a pretty big fucking deal for a single gift. But that thing made me feel like I never was like, oh, my bass is crappy. My bass isn't as cool as somebody else's. I wasn't comparing me to anybody else. I was just comparing me to me. And I think that's one of those big differences, right? When you're younger, you're either not comparing at all, you're just excited about because everything's new, or you're comparing you to you, not you to everybody else. And when you start getting older, there's so much more about, well, what do I have? It's reflective against what's my environment? What do the other people around me have, right? So I have what I would consider a nice home, right? Relative to it's bigger than any of the houses I ever grew up in, right? But
yeah.
some people will come visit me and they'll be like, oh my God, why is there no like paved path to your front door? Why is it just like earth and dirt, And I'm like, because it's just natural. It's just a natural environment. I don't need that. Plus, we don't have a lot of guests come through the house that way. And we generally come in and out through the garage door because, it's just convenient. So I don't need that. But if you took this and you put it somewhere else, people would be like, oh, it's kind of dumb, right? And then I'd be bummed. Sometimes, people will tell you, like, so on the kids side of things, when you know you're going to have a baby and you're coming up with baby names, like, don't tell people what your baby name is going to be. Do you tell them in advance? They're going to give you an opinion. And like, I don't really want that. I don't want your opinion. Where it's now I could maybe be influenced by and be like, oh, people are giving me a hard time, or, oh, people, whatever, or the grandparents wish it could be this or that, you're happy with what you have right then and there. And people will kind of crap on things. And some people have a stronger kind of armor or buffer against that, where they're like, people can crap on me. But I think a lot of what happens as we get older is we start looking out and comparing. You can't help but compare.
Right.
You have a thing where you're routinely, I think, kind of looking pretty big picture. What's the next step, the next step, the next step?
Me personally, me?
Yeah, I think you do.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that you do. I think some of that, I don't know exactly what your background was, but I didn't grow up with money, and so I think you're the same, right? So,
Yeah.
and there's something about like, you're afraid you're going to be poor again, or so you're always looking like, what's the next? What do I need to do? And you never really feel like you've landed, because if you rest, then it's going to get you. That thing's going to come, right? So I think all of that is part of the psychology that feeds that. Well, why can't I just be happy with what I have and experience that joy? Like, I'm not upset that mom brought home the off-label guitar, right? I didn't get a Fender. I got a Guitar Research, which nobody's ever fucking heard of. Like, what is that? Right? Man, it was the coolest thing. I still got it. Like, I love that little bass, and it changed my life. So,
Yeah. I'm saying, if you could bottle that,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, it's like, and I'm reaching for like, well, what else is there like that? And
but
why is it?
youth, isn't that just like being a kid? Like, isn't that how you would summarize the difference between like being a kid and being a
Yeah.
grown up? Right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's looking to figure out what that is. The fountain of youth isn't just like what you look like. It's how do you keep that excitement going? I see people at work that they seem to be like, they still have an excitement and a yearning that is really different than me. I have, you know, opening up, like personally, I have clinical depression, right? So it is harder to access that stuff. There's an extra layer that gets in the way of accessing that stuff than just the layer of adulthood on top of, your inner child, right? But
Mhm.
keeping that inner child like awake, and that's the thing. I think what you're describing is happy inner child. I know a lot of people that in adulthood seem happier. They've still got that childlike wonder and excitement. What are we going to do? Oh, we could take salsa lessons. To me, I'd be like, I want to do, oh my God, no, 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 no. I don't want to get anywhere near that. There's people are going to be looking at me. I don't want to dance. And other
Mhm.
people would be like, so cool. I've never done that. Let's do that.
Right.
That's like the happy inner child who's excited about doing stuff. I don't know how you find that magic, but I don't know which comes first. It's kind of chicken or the egg. People that seem like they're fulfilled in the work that they do seem to have more of that happy inner child thing where they're excited about stuff. Because what you spend the majority of your waking hours like at work, right? So if you're happy and rewarded there for much of the day, then I think you're kind of living and bathing in that space of like, I'm getting some reward. I feel like I'm connected to being good at what I do and enjoying what I do. You can be good at what you do, but not enjoy it. And people that are connected to that seem to have a better overall, like, yeah, let's do this, let's do that. But I don't know if that's because they have that personality naturally. And so that's what enables them to be happier with what they do. Or if being better connected to what you're kind of meant to do or you feel happy doing makes you just overall, I don't know which one is which. I mean, do you find that you're like happy? How would you do it, right? That thing you're looking for. And you're kind of suggesting that you have it a little bit because you're saying 50 is the new 30. So doesn't it suggest you have at least a bit of it? Yeah.
Yeah. So more and more, I look back at certain times, and obviously the band that we were in together was one of the times that I can look back and I can think, I actually blew that time. I blew it for all of us because of the way I was, because I was more bitter. I'm still negative first before I'm not an optimist. I think I'm an optimist, but I look at things with a negative, like,
More cynical, like,
lens first, if you will, or cynical, or maybe, or I'm like a little bit more like, I want to make sure or whatever. But I do think back then I was just more negative, right? And like, I think I didn't take it serious enough. I think I didn't like put enough energy into it or effort. And I wish I could go back and do it over and change it and be more positive and be less like, like, this sucks, or why are we doing this, and questioning everything, and like just more go with it, or just you know what I mean? Just be like, yeah, fuck it, we're doing it. You know what I mean? We're gonna drive 3 hours to go to some shit thing. Well, who cares? Like, I
yeah,
back was like, oh man, like, we're gonna do this. You know what I mean? And I don't know why I had that. And I think there's a lot of like, I maybe didn't in my personal life. Like, I wasn't 100% happy. I was always worried about my job. I was always worried about money. I had debt. There's all these different things, and I let all of that get in the way of like just being in the moment, or enjoying something, or letting myself enjoy something. That's one of them I regret for sure. But I see it now, and I just what I wore and how I dressed, and it's like, man, I didn't even like, it took nothing serious, and I could have just made a little more of an effort, or even asked for help. That was a bigger thing for me. I was afraid to say, hey, like, I'm not the best at like dressing, or you know what I mean? And I didn't have money just to go and buy everything from Abercrombie like somebody else, right? Like, you literally got everything from Abercrombie, or you're going to Urban Outfitters and you're looking all fucking sweet and dialed in, and you're super, like, like hipster Urban Outfitters $300 outfit. I didn't have $300 to buy that outfit. So like, but I could have at least asked, like, hey, how do I make myself look a little better? Or you know what I mean? Or just things that I could have done, or buy a decent instrument. And I was playing on a fucking, just an awful guitar that didn't make any sense. And like, just, you know what I mean? Like, just, I look back now and think, what was I doing? You know, like, I didn't take it serious. I don't know why, even though it was a very serious thing for all of us. I didn't. And I can't for the life of me tell you why, you know?
Well, I mean, I have a lot of my takes on things deal with like, mental health and, you know, things that I've explored in therapy. And I have like, the word gets thrown around pretty lightly, but like there is such a thing as like, childhood trauma. And that doesn't mean like the most horrendous thing in the world happened to you, but when you're under like a sort of constant press or strain or pressure, and you're really worried about like the security of your environment, not like you don't have a roof over your head or there's not food in the refrigerator, but you know, you just can't really feel relaxed and free to just kind of be a kid. Yeah. You've got a lot of maybe different prematurely adult responsibilities put upon you, or you're supporting an emotionally immature parent or something like that. That stuff can stay with you even when you exit that environment and go out, do your own thing, right? And that's not to say anything about your background or your family, but there are things from that time that like kind of come up, and you're trying to keep yourself safe by not getting too happy or invested in anything.
Yeah. I don't want to get let down. I don't want to get my hopes up, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And it's a defense against that. I see that.
It is. It's a form of self-sabotage. And have always hated hearing that, because it makes it feel like I'm being blamed, right? Like for my own problems. But at the core of it, it's a thing that your mind is trying to do to keep you safe. But it ends up putting up barriers around you from experiencing, happiness, like actually fully experiencing happiness. And you don't live in the present. You're either thinking about the past or you're thinking to the future, and either the future is something to be more excited about than what's now, or it's something to be nervous and fearful of because who knows what bad stuff's coming. But you don't really live in the present, and it really is no way to live. Certainly you have to plan for your future, but that's really different than, making a plan right now and being present with what you have today. That's what a lot of, mindfulness stuff will teach you. I've always sucked at meditation because I have a very busy mind. It's exactly what I need to do, but I find it really, really difficult to do. But I know enough about like what are the keys. That definitely seems like one of those keys that people who have become successful practitioners, you don't have to be the best at it. It's just doing it helps, and you can be more present. So that's one of the things that I've liked about music. If I sit down and I'm like, I've got to write a song and I've got to remember it, and oh, what was that progression I played? Because I'm thinking about, I want to make this a recording that I'm going to share with somebody or develop with a band or something like that. And that takes me out sometimes of just doing the music right there. Meanwhile, if I just go sit at the piano and play whatever, and I'm like, my job is not to remember this. My job is not to be able to ever recreate this. This is just what's happening right now. And I don't care if somebody else heard it and thought it sucked. I sit down and I play. I am in a much better state of mind after I do something like that, because music forces me to be present if I do it in that way, instead of sitting there thinking about turn this into something and make this time productive or right.
But so the thing that, like what you're saying when it comes to mind is, and I have a hard time following this, but the whole ignorance is bliss thing, that is something I am just not. And it's true, ignorance is, but I wish I didn't know certain things. I wish I didn't have that cynical kind of like, but I want to say I can see 2-3 steps ahead and where this is going to go. So that prevents me from even getting to the first step, because it's like,
Absolutely.
I can see where it's coming. And remember our manager we had in the band, right? We knew that guy was shady, and we knew it wasn't like on the up and up, and we knew there was problems with it. And so and it's hard for me to say, all right, well, I'm just going to ignore all that. Ignorance is bliss. I'm just going to pretend I'm being the moment. Hell, he's sending me to Nashville. I'm going. I'm meeting these people. Oh, now he's doing this. Now we're doing, oh, great. I'm just going to do it. Right. It's hard for me just to give up control and not think, well, wait, like this, something he said didn't make sense. And why are we paying for this? And why am I spending my own money? And why am everything else? It's like, none of it makes any sense.
You have a bullshit alarm, and your bullshit alarm is going to outsize maybe relative, not to the average person, I don't know, but to a lot of people. And I don't know, again, I don't know the details of your background that well, but a lot of people who have outsized bullshit alarms have some form of like, youth trauma. Doesn't have to be like some catastrophic one-time event, but stuff that happens when you're young and in your formative years, and it makes it hard to let your guard down. It makes it hard to trust authority because maybe the people are unreliable, right? Like whatever that kind of dynamic is.
Yeah.
And that makes your bullshit alarm was there to protect you, but it's probably no longer as adaptive, right? It was adaptive back then because you had to kind of outthink somebody who might be taking advantage of you, or you had to just be a little bit more on guard. But it becomes maladaptive. It's a maladaptive coping mechanism if it stays with you indefinitely. And now you can't trust people. Now it's like, well, I'm always kind of, even if you think you're optimistic, your inner brain is kind of like constantly looking for the negative to find and say like, here's why that won't work. Here's why this is bullshit. Fuck that. That's bullshit, right? This isn't going to work. It's no longer an adaptive coping mechanism. So I know a lot of people don't develop that in their youth. And so I feel like when I see it, I'm like, it's a superpower. Like if you don't have that layer, what it gives you is the ability to kind of, you can have an almost supernatural ability with this thing because you can probably read people well. And you probably know before other people know that somebody's bullshitting you, right?
Yeah.
You have that sense of it. So that's like your superpower. But, to me, the other superpower is like, how does somebody just have a happy inner child? How is somebody just kind of baseline happy, their baseline state is one of, I feel and trust that there's a general well-being about me and my life. That looks like a superpower to me. You don't have to switch off the negative thinking through conscious effort, but you just don't have it. You don't have that negative thinking just automatically running. See, I can work to try to tune it out, but it's like static or noise. It's like two radio stations going at once. And the negative voice is telling me, and I can be like, okay, let me reach for the volume there and turn that down. I don't want to listen to that channel right now. I want to listen to the other stuff that is, hey, what's the real evidence? Is this really good? Is this really bad? And how much of this is you saying, well, this could be bad, or, oh, I got a red flag there. Let me put undue weight on that red flag as a terrible thing and say, oh, this is why I know I can't trust this person. But if you didn't have to consciously apply that work to tune out the negative thinking, yeah, that's what I mean. That would be a superpower for me. And I have occasional days where I'm like, I feel good. Sadly, it's rare. But when I feel good, I can get so much more done. And I'm like, is this what it feels like to be, I don't know, normal?
Yeah. I don't, it's interesting what you're saying, because I don't ever think about it. You know what I mean? I never wake up and think, do I feel good today or do I not feel good today? Or I just kind of have my routine, or I just start the day and maybe some shitty things happen or whatever or not, but I never pay attention to it. And maybe that's like your very heightened sensitivity to that or something. I don't.
Well, it could work against you. I did a lot of therapy where I didn't know what I was thinking for a long time. I was like, I'm just mad. I don't know why I'm mad. I'm just mad. I just am this way. And initially therapy to help you figure out why you're mad or why you're whatever, sad, whatever. Once you realize why you are, a lot of times you can be like, oh, now that I understand it, I'm actually not that upset by it. It's neutralized it. Now that I get one. But if you do it kind of, in my case, if you do it too long or you get too introspective, you can take your analytical higher functioning and you can become too in your head, right? And too aware of like what's going on and how am I perceiving this? What am I thinking and what am I feeling? And then you're like microanalyzing every little thing and it becomes too much. There's like a sweet spot where in my case, when I first did therapy, I felt like $1,000,000 after I cracked a few things open and got to the core of some stuff. And then I was improved and improving for like 4 or 5 years. And then I kind of plateaued again. And then that I needed to readapt, but I didn't know exactly how to readapt after that. So it is, you may not think about it, and I'm not saying you'd be better off if you did, because you already have the awareness that you got the negative thing. So you're thinking about it to some degree because you know, right? It's
Yeah.
not hearing from other people telling you that they've observed it, right? It's
Yeah.
cool.
It took, a lot of people telling me and over and over, my wife and, whatever. But eventually it's like, well, yeah. And I can look back and think that whole like bullshit alarm thing you're talking about. It's like, yeah, when I used to get kicked out of school all the time, right? Or sent to the principal's office all the time or whatever, because I would talk back to the teacher because I couldn't allow myself just to be like, okay, well, whatever. You know what I mean? Like everybody's just sitting here kind of ignoring whatever the teacher's saying or not even caring. I would push back. Or I'd have I don't know if you remember the story where like you could bribe the teacher with corn nuts, right, to get a better grade. Right? You got a C on a test. Hey, I'll give you a bag of corn nuts. Give me that B. And he would do it. He would do it for kids. And I couldn't believe it. But why couldn't I just be a kid that's like, fuck yeah, I'm going to go buy a 12-pack of corn nuts, walk in and say, hey, man, don't give me a D, at least give me a C. Here's some corn nuts. Why couldn't I be that kid? Why did I have to say,
You're letting somebody,
why am I giving you, what the fuck are you doing? You're a teacher. You're an adult. Why are you're taking bribes? I was that. Why was I that?
it's the bullshit alarm. It comes from, yeah, it comes from stuff in your childhood where it's, you're again, abuse isn't necessarily the right word, right? Or trauma,
Right.
It's overused, but trauma doesn't have to mean like, classic example is like somebody's been sexually assaulted or something, right? Or there's soldiers who go to war, right? Obviously kids are not going to war here in the US, but you could be a child exposed to war, right? And like bombs going off. None of us have had to grow up with anything like that. And yet there are things about like just kind of chronic stuff. It's often what you might call like immature parents or, things where the relationship between both parents is not there or isn't healthy. And there's something that you take on that is, I can't really trust the adults or the authority because they let me down some. Whether maybe they didn't overtly abuse me or take advantage of me, but they definitely let me down. They definitely weren't there when I needed them. And I got to take care of myself. And therefore, you don't want to give the authority the power because it feels like a power over you. And it feels like something that they're going to potentially abuse if they have that power over you. So you don't want to give that power to anybody because they could use it against you. And when you see something as overt as, okay, I'm going to trade corn nuts for grades, of course that's bullshit, right? Like that is. And most people just be like, dude, easy. But you'd be like,
Right.
no, I'm not giving that. That's wrong. I'm not going to do it. It's wrong. Fuck
So
you.
let me just back up here. I can't stand corn nuts. I hate the way they smell. I hate the way
Maybe that was the problem. Maybe it was just,
maybe, but anybody who cracks open some corn nuts on a plane,
maybe you should eat corn nuts, David. If you just start eating corn nuts, maybe your whole life will improve.
I can't. It makes me nauseous.
Simple.
And also, this is a very therapeutic 50s and new 30s.
Yeah.
Um,
We're going deep.
But I think so we're at 37 minutes. Maybe you dial back the blurring. It's cutting into like your hair and your glasses. So maybe you dial it back a little. But I think
Right.
good 37-minute trial.
Yeah. I got to go anyway because my children are starting to search for me. I need to
Yeah.
feed them.
So and I got some issues at work. I have to go log in and put out a fire. So that's always, we'll get to that. We'll get to the work side of life in a future episode of 50s and 30.
Oh, all righty. That's great.
Hey, unless you got other names, bring it on. Like, I just personally think like I'm at a point where I want to talk about certain things in life, and I somehow feel like it matches me. Right?
Yeah. My initial reaction is 50 is the new 30. Sounds positive. And I don't feel particularly positive about where I am in my life. But I think that could also be part of the dynamic, not like there's a positive guy and a negative guy in the formula here, but
I like
50 is the new 30, could be, well, why or how do you make it feel that way? Because, I just turned 47.
right.
So that's closer to 50 than anything.
Yeah, on this side of it. Right.
Yes. And I'm going to be, to me in my brain, like when I was going to turn 40, like when I was a kid and I was like, what's old? Like 40 sounded right. Now, when I got to 30, I was like, 40 sounds kind of old, maybe. But once I got to 40, I was like, it doesn't really feel, or I don't feel old.
Right.
But 50 for me is like, even though I'm very close to 50, I am like, that is old. I no longer feel like 50 is like, I can redefine it. Like 50, if I tell anybody, you're going to be like, dude, you're 50. You should not be emotionally where you are, or you should be more mature, all of these things. And I might look less than 50, but I still feel old at this age, is feeling like I'm old. There's something different about my awareness of like how much time I have left and things like that.
Yeah.
That is hitting me as I get close to 50. So I don't feel like 50 is the new 30. All the things you said, I can connect with, how I don't look that way, act that way, and all that. But I don't see it as necessarily a good thing. I see it as like, I'm out of step. I shouldn't be this emotionally insecure, or, have the same kind of challenges. Like I'm a parent to 2 children, right? Like I should have my act way more together by 50. If I think about my parents or my father at 50, be like, yeah, I'm not where that guy was at.
No, none of us are. That's my point.
Right? Not like the agedness of it. Like he looks old, he seems older. They seem more rigid and they're more uptight, and I just mean like even financially. And I think there's something about what you're getting at that is an awareness that I don't think most of us have as we're growing up, which is you're young and you think, oh, I can't wait to be older. Can't wait to be an adult, do my own thing. I'm excited about doing that. Or you think to people who've been through more of life, you're like, oh, it's easier for them because they're more established, or they've been through this before. They've gone through death, they've gone through loss, and whatever it is. They got a thicker skin. They've weathered this stuff. But the reality is, you never stop growing up. You never stop growing up. Think about people who are in their 50s and 60s, and now they're watching lifelong friends pass away, right? Like I haven't really dealt with good friends of mine dying. But we're going to move into an age where that starts happening.
Yeah, that's happening. Yeah.
Or having to figure out, what do I do when my health starts declining? Or I keep thinking about, oh, I want to go out to the wilderness and do this hike. I want to climb this, this summit or whatever. I want to do this thing. Now it's becoming potentially more too strenuous for me to do. My knees aren't great. My hip is
physically,
right?
that's different. I'm talking about
but you never stop, but you have to then adapt to your body changing. And that isn't, we've done some level of that at our age, but what I mean is you don't come with a program or an instruction manual that you just run or consult. You're always figuring out how to navigate the next stage and the next stage and the next stage. And that's what I mean by like, you never stop growing up. You'd be 70, 80, 90. You're still figuring out what it means to be that. And I think that's I think that I never heard my parents say, you know, I don't feel like 50, or I thought I'd be different than I am. I don't ever remember any adult in that generation sitting and saying, like, having that internal debate with themselves, like, should I feel this way? Should I feel differently? Like, they didn't seem to ever even hint it.
My mom didn't either. She does now, though. My mom's 80 and now says, I don't feel 80. I don't think I look 80. I don't act 80 or whatever. And I think a lot of it is sense of humor. My brother and I are always joking with her, and I like to joke and say we keep her young,
Mm-hmm.
but it's our doing that keeps her, not feeling that way, and maybe to some degree, but she didn't used to do that. Yeah, for sure. Growing up, she never questioned it. I used to question. I used to think when I was a kid and I'm watching Magnum PI, and you know what I mean? Like, that was a man. He's like 6 feet tall. He's got a mustache. He's got a hairy chest. He's one of those little dolphin shorts. You know what I mean? He's just cruising around, super confident. He's driving a Ferrari. He's like fucking 23 in that show or something. Man, to me, he was an attractive, good-looking, ass-collecting man. You know what I mean? And it's like, I've never been that man. I still don't feel I'm that man. And I'm fucking 30 years older than when he was, like, in that show. Or
Right.
What? You know what I mean? And that's what trips me out a lot of times. So I'm like, okay, yeah, physically, totally different story. I like I'll pull a muscle sleeping. You know what I mean? I got out of bed and I'm like, oh, honey. And now, and for a week I'm taking Tylenol and I can't sleep and I'm on the couch, or I'm doing, you know what I mean? It's like, physically, that's a whole nother episode. But
I drank water too hard the other day. It was a bitch.
Yeah. Or you sneeze sometimes and you're like, oh my back, my neck, because I sneezed. It's like, yeah. All right. So so you need to dial back a thing. We're going to work on your thing, right?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, my $15,000 camera setup, I mean, I spent a little time. You know what I mean? I sat here working.
As we've been on this call, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
What's happening?
But I do
get there. And, I think it's more the substance of whatever we're doing. It's not always going to be like this heavy, like it'd be, it's going to be fun and silly, but I think you do want to probably keep, you're wanting to keep like the length, the profanity out or just down, or like completely.
We could always bleep. We could always mute number 2, do that whole thing.
Part of my native on board, like when I'm with friends, I'm like very inclined to swear.
It's hard for me not to. And if I just want to think of if my mom is the audience, it's like, well, it's impossible. I'm sorry, Mom, I'm going to be swearing. But we can maybe bleep it out or tone it down. Sure, we don't need to talk about you look like cock meat or whatever, right? So, all right. I love you. This has been good.
Yeah, perfect. All right,
man.
I'll get it. Thanks, man.
See ya.